I was driving home from here yesterday, tuning in on today and going, okay, what are we going to be doing today? Is there anything I need to say at the beginning? I very clearly heard the Z's saying, this is a time of connection and disconnection. And what they wanted me to talk to you about is this kind of split that we're seeing in the world right now. And disconnection or division is very strong, but equally so is incredible connection. There is a real paradox about the earth right now, because energetically things are more intense, more heavy, more difficult, more seemingly scary or precarious on the one side. And then on the other side, many or most of us are also having very elevated experiences. Maybe not all the time. Some of you are, though. And I mean, I saw that in your questions. Some of you are going, well, I feel a bit bad because I'm actually feeling better than I ever have before. And so we're all in slightly different places. Some of you won't be in that place right now. Maybe something very dramatic has just happened in your life, or something that has really turned you upside down. So at the moment, you're giving yourself to that process. You're giving yourself to grief or shock or whatever is dominant for you. But it is this very interesting split between higher energy and lower energy. And so what they wanted me to ask you to consider, and maybe they'll elaborate on this in a moment when I channel them, the questions I've written down here on my whiteboard are: what are we connecting with? What are we disconnecting from? What are we connecting with? What are we disconnecting from? So just to give you an example that pops into my head, I've just connected with my home office, and also it's an office and a music room, place I can now create. So because I connected into it, suddenly I'm like, oh, great. I can start creating some new music in here that we can then, because I disconnected from the story of, oh, I don't like the energy in that room, which, I only thought for about 3 days, but it was interesting how convinced I was for about 3 days. I was like, that's interesting. The disconnection and connection part go hand in hand. So it is a paradox. But why I'm bringing this up to you, I'm very aware of the grief of this time. I'm very aware of the grief of disconnection. I'm disconnected from my old life pre-2020, which I think everybody is in some way. I'm disconnected from friends who I really disagree with, and we're having all these big divisions, whether it's about viruses or whatever else is going on, and there's many things that we could pick. There is a lot of disconnection going on the planet, but equally there is a lot of connection. And so I think the heaviest side of us as human beings, which many of us, they say that we're predisposed to the negative as human beings. I don't actually believe that's a soul truth. I believe that is part of our pattern and part of our conditioning. But it's interesting that at times like these, even in the portal at the moment, the questions are dominantly around loss or around grief or around feelings of sadness, and so I know if that's going on in our community at a higher level than it used to. Questions for us a couple years ago maybe it was different. It was slanted differently. But the amount of disconnection that's going on the planet makes way for new connection as well. And it's really important for us, for our life force, for our spirit, for our happiness, and for our ability to really be present in life, to connect with something. It's why if you go through a lot of loss in your life, sure, you're going to need to grieve, and you might curl up into a ball for 6 months, maybe longer. But at some point, you have to come back out. You can't stay there for years without losing your spirit, losing yourself, perhaps losing some of your sanity, some of your joy. We can't stay in that place as human beings. It's not good for us, and it's not good for others. So what I'm bringing to you today is just those 2 questions, and it would be a really good exercise to do, to write down, what am I connecting with? And what am I disconnecting from? And ask yourself intuitively to write the answers. So you might write, oh, I'm disconnecting from fear, because for the last 9 months, I was racked with fear about everything. And then 3 weeks ago, something changed for me, or I realized I needed to make a change. Okay, I'm disconnecting from fear right now. Doesn't mean you won't have moments of fear, but it means you're disconnecting from that theme being the dominant force in your life. I'm disconnecting from 2 friends who I was really close to, and it's been hard, but I'm kind of clear it looks like we're supposed to disconnect, at least at this time, for the time being, because we've tried the opposite and it isn't working. But equally understand, what am I connecting with follows that. Whenever we lose something in our life, when we've recovered from the loss, there is space for the new to appear. And the Z's have been talking a lot about innovation on the planet. And they said that especially this year and next year, we will start to see more of the, how did they put it? The unusual birth energy that will rise out of everything that's been going on the last 18 months. So with everything, with all the lockdowns and all of the restrictions and everything that we're facing, they said, you know, life finds a way, and energy finds a way, and consciousness finds a way. So for you and for your well-being, for yourself and your sovereignty as a human soul on this planet at this time, what are you connecting with? So the reason we want to write the list of what am I disconnecting from is so that we get really conscious of that. But then equally, we get conscious of what am I connecting with? And if your what am I connecting with list is really empty, and you're like, oh my God, I wrote 20 things that I'm disconnecting from, but I haven't put anything here on my what am I connecting with list. Write a list that says, I would love to connect with these things in the next 12 months, and write it all out. The reason I'm suggesting this is there's a lot of chaos right now. And the chaos can really knock you off center, and it can take you out of your conscious ability to manifest. It can take you out of your presence of mind. I think it was either this month's energy update or the one before. There was just a reminder of how infectious we all are to each other. So if I go and talk to a group of people who are completely doom and gloom about everything that we're experiencing, and I'm not really aware of that, I just kind of get lost in their energy or kind of want to connect, so I connect in, I'll walk away and I'll probably feel quite doom and gloom for a while, unless I shake that off and ask myself, well, do I need to keep that? Maybe I do. Maybe doom and gloom is where I'm going to go for the next year. Maybe that's how I'm going to feel about everything. I'm not judging if that's where you end up going, but I'm saying this because I suspect 97% of you who are here in the portal don't want that to be your future. And how we feel in the present definitely influences the future. And at a time like this, where, you know, freedom, restriction is kind of in a fight on the planet right now, and it's a very active fight. People are talking about it. Some people are fighting about it. I mean, some of the stuff that you see flying around on social media right now is pretty it's pretty distasteful energetically, in terms of the rights and the wrongs and the attack of each other, which, you know, isn't too surprising if you look at how the fear narrative got pumped and amplified in 2020. You know, if people get infected with enough fear, they will lose their hearts, their consciousness. They will panic. They will go into very primal animalistic responses. So we are dealing with a level of that on the planet. But the reason I'm asking you to come back to you and ask yourself, what am I connecting with? What am I disconnecting from? It's no different to me organizing my office, right? This unconscious stuff in the office that seemed overwhelming at the time when I looked at those boxes. And then, you know, you spend a couple of days, you go through the boxes, you're like, oh, that's a nice surprise. Oh, wow, why didn't I throw that away 3 years ago? You know, you go through that process, and then you come to this new room, and we need to keep checking the rooms in our house right now, in this house, in our mind, in our emotions. I was talking with a friend the other day who's a healer, and you know, she was saying, my God, she was like, thank God I've done all the work I've done, because this is challenging this time. And I was like, yeah, you know, this is a time that we have to maintain ourselves in a way that is more conscious than ever before, because the level of unconscious energy and conscious energy flying around is kind of like a tornado. So this is a time for you to galvanize. And, you know, I will always be your cheerleader when it comes to creating. You know, I'll always be someone who's asking you, you know, what are you creating? I'm not somebody, for those of you who are new to me, you know, one of my great spiritual truths is we never know how long we have on this planet. It's been a guiding light for me for about 15 years. And it's a truth, you know, having lost people I love at very young ages, I'm not in that spell that many of us were trained into, that we're all going to live until we're 80 or 90. I don't believe that, because that's not the truth I've seen. And I also think that's a very harmful belief, because it takes us away from the present. It lets us buy into, oh, okay, well, I'll get married and I'll get a job, and then when I'm 65, I'll retire and I'll take that camper van around the world, and that's the time I'll go and explore the world. And then it's tragic when at 62 your partner dies and your plans are all gone, and you realize that your plans were all built on future possibilities rather than the now. So my invitation to you this month, right now, or whenever you're watching this, is you have an incredible creational power in you. It's why you came here. It's why you came to Earth. It's why you came to Earth at this time. You know, you're needed in this period of history. And it's not necessarily because it's your job single-handedly to save the world of all of the problems that you might see that are here, but you landed on the planet at this time to bring not only your unique contribution to the people that you love, perhaps to the nature that you serve, perhaps you serve animals and nature more than you ever want to serve people, and that's your mission. But equally, you came here for a soul experience of your own. So there will be things we're healing. All kinds of ancestral healing has been going on in the last year and a half. And a lot of the triggers that we are getting from what's going on in the world right now stir up things from the past in us, in our memories, and also in the land and in the history of people. So for example, you know, I think it's been very interesting where people are pointing out parallels to other times in history right now. And there is an energetic truth in that, but it's also interesting to go, oh, well, if people are pointing out those parallels, then we're also tapping into some of the feelings of those times when there was perhaps a more revolutionary energy on the planet. And what is that doing for us personally? And how are we shedding it collectively? So it's always very complex. One thing that I shared in this month's energy update is the way that energy is turning into form is really changing. It's a message they gave me to give to intuitives. So those of us who were used to perhaps feeling something on a Monday and assuming that means by Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, it will look like X, Y, or Z, the message is you can't really track the way that you used to. You can't assume that the way that things are going to play out in physical form are necessarily true. It's why I always have trouble with predictions around certain dates. You know, when people go, oh, on this day, this is going to happen. I've seen so many of those for decades now that it doesn't come to pass. And then people are like, oh, well, it didn't happen. And I'm like, well, you just interpreted it in a very 3D way. Doesn't mean the energy didn't change on that day or do something. But there is a lot of fear of the future right now that is disabling, because it forgets that how we're showing up today and how our consciousness and our heart and what we feel and what we say or do is having a knock-on effect on where we're going as a planet. One of the things the Z's said, I think it was in last month's energy tune-up, or it was in one of the MP3s in the last few months, is they said, things could be far worse on the planet right now than they are. And they said, you know, the way that things have been going, there has been a slowing process around some of the difficulties we're facing now energetically. They say it could have been a lot worse, but because the consciousness has been rising on the earth in general, some of the struggles that we're now having to see and deal with in a very in-our-face way, that have always been there, they have risen in a slower way, which they said is better for us as humans. And it was interesting, whenever I've heard them say that message, I get all the tingles in my body. And it's not something before I heard them say it that I consciously understood. But as soon as I heard it, I was like, gosh, I feel that is very true. Now, you may or may not feel that is true, but I'm sharing that because it's something that I lean into on the days where I remember that it's okay to grieve, it's okay to feel scared, it's okay to be disappointed, it's okay to feel all of those things, but it's not okay to wear any of those feelings for weeks and weeks and months and just assume that they're never going to go away or that I'm stuck with them. Then we know that we have to start creating something different in ourselves, which is why I just want you to look at the two simple questions. What am I connecting with? What am I disconnecting from? Hi, I'm Lee. I'm an intuitive, a channeler, a musician, and you may know me from my monthly free energy updates that go out on YouTube and Facebook. You may know me from the Impact the World podcast, but I wanted to introduce you to my members community, The Portal. We've been a community now for 8 years, and my mission and the mission of my team every single month is to bring you wellness content, metaphysical content, anything that's going to support your life as a sensitive, as a healer, as someone who is newly awakening, but also to ground it in reality. So every month we bring you various tools to help you survive, thrive, and expand your life. I know many of you are out there bringing your own special gift or light to the world, and the Portal is a hub that we hold along with our community members to support you on your mission. Every month I do a live energy tune-up broadcast. It's 90 minutes long. It allows me to go deeper on some of the energies that month and how they are affecting our specific Portal community. I also take Q&A. I answer questions from my intuitive standpoint, and I also answer questions from my guides, the Z's, who I channel. These live tune-ups are always available within 24 hours, so if you can't make it live, you will always have the replay to go back and watch again, or to use the timestamps to visit a specific question that you heard that you wanted to replay the answer for. Every month, we will bring you a brand new audio recording. I often keep our community at the top of my mind when I'm creating a new channeled MP3 or a new energy alchemy meditation. And these are always scored and supported by the music of sound healer Davor Bozik. I also do several private behind-the-scenes video diaries. Sometimes these are what we're creating and what's going on here at the studio, but other times it might just be me at home talking about things that I'm noticing, really designed to give you and I an intimate conversation that I wouldn't otherwise put out there into the wider world. Stephen Washington brings you a special body energy update every single month. So Stephen is my husband, and he is also an amazing Qigong and wellness teacher. So I asked him several years ago to start creating some body medicine for us. So he takes the themes of that month's energy update and he expands upon them and gives you a sequence of Qigong movements that are very gentle and easy for beginners, but it's a way of alchemizing what we're going through, and he does it beautifully. So many of our members love that component. Stephen also has many meditations inside the Portal, which you can access anytime, and we are expanding our meditation library as these months go on. You receive a welcome bonus of the Intuitive Power live event. So if you've never seen a live event of ours, we had an incredible film crew document our London Intuitive Power event in 2019. And you'll get all 5 hours of that content as soon as you sign up. And finally, we curate special monthly Spotify playlists. 2 different kinds: music to move you, so things that are a little more dancey, and music to soothe you, things that are designed to help your nervous system calm. We love introducing you to new music, and this is curated by our whole team. The Classics Library is another important cornerstone of the Portal. It gives us an opportunity to bring you 8 different MP3 recordings from my vast library, but we curate them as to the titles that might be perfect for you at this time. So if you want some extra audio, you can go into the Classics library and pick a topic that suits you. Alongside several discounts to Portal members, our favorite thing is the energy of our community. So we have a private forum only available to members where you can share with each other, discuss, and learn from each other. So the portal really is a world unto itself, and it will keep expanding as the years go on. But there are some of our members who love every single aspect of the portal, and there are some who are there just for 2 or 3 things. So if you want to try it out for a month and see if it's for you, you can do that because membership is available to cancel anytime, and we look forward to welcoming you in the portal if you choose to experience what it is that we are curating and creating for you here.